We don't even see our own resistance because we're so busy in the fight.
I am so glad to see you guys here today, and thank you for putting together something that is so easy to understand and so easy to listen to, even though it's very difficult to accept, if that makes sense. One thing we hear loud and clear in the film, though, in that project, is Black female voices. Is that intentional? And why and how? Because that was one thing I thought that was really important, was just seeing so many different Black female opinions and voices and points of interest.
You know, when I looked at the list of experts, you know,
Okay.
there's usual talking heads, a lot of white male historians and the use of people, but I noticed that a lot of the people doing this work, a lot of the academics, a lot of the historians were Black women that are doing the work around racism. And I was like, okay, this is gonna be different. We're gonna have all Black female experts and historians and academics, and there was pushback, believe me. The network was like, oh, well, that's gonna make it less accessible. I was like, no, it's gonna make a statement about what we are trying to do. It was really important.
First of all, thank you for getting all of that. That's what the intention of the book is to realize how much of the racist ideas that we have all been ingesting. But going back to Black women, it was really clear in the book that there has been a resistance and a war over racist ideas from the beginning. And that was my aha moment, that we were never taught or understood the level of our resistance and how much we've been resisting. And in the fight for racist ideas, and when we step into the anti-racist part of the war of racist ideas, typically you'll find that our Black men were assassinated. And our Black women were invisible enough to put pen to paper and then leave us with the receipts that Dr. Kendi was able to piece together. Thank God he sat down to write, right? And put this before us in a way that we can understand it as not a same old story, because I think what we're weary of is how much we've been beaten and bludgeoned and hurt, but we don't get our rebellion stories. We don't even see our own resistance because we're so busy in the fight. And so he was able to lay that out, and what's consistent in the book, Phyllis Wheatley, Harriet Jacobs, Ida B. Wells, they took it upon themselves to pause in the moment to write down our stories so that we can trace back our history of resistance at a moment in a time right now that we can look at how really the racist idea is really the cover-up of power, and that we're all indentured servants and we're all slaves if we don't figure this out, you know. Personally,
One of the things that was my aha moment was the resistance. I don't know why, but for some reason, I don't know if I was aware of how much we played in freeing ourselves.
Yes, that's too empowering.
And like, I don't know, sitting in front of you as a 42-year-old Black man, I'm very proud to be that. I love my history, I love my Jamaican heritage. My Instagram name is Mr. One Love. I play off of, like, you know, Bob Marley and all that. But yet, I have to sit here and admit to you that I didn't really realize that we should have as much credit for being free as we should.
Wow.
And I think that's why one of the myths that we wanted to chronicle was the myth of the white savior.
Right.
And I think as part of that myth, we showed that Black people freed themselves, even freed themselves from chattel slavery in the United States. Black people, many of course the islands, freed themselves, not just Haitian revolutionaries, but even Jamaicans were critical in the resistance, you know, against slavery. And I think as a Black person, to look in the mirror and see your own self as a liberator is empowering.
I literally had a breakdown at the end of a keynote recently because the girl asked me, what are you hesitant to tell us? And I was like, I'm just scared that I'll mess up one of these interviews, I'll mess up one of these keynotes, and you guys will all look and be like, see, told you. Told you.
The level of excellence you have to sort of portray.
Well, that's your Phyllis Wheatley moment.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. Genuinely, that portion of it, I was just like, oh, I feel like they're talking to me. Like I said, I've been writing stuff, crossing stuff, me and Ryan going back and forth, like, okay, where do we even start? Because my heart is so involved.
Oh my gosh. The screening yesterday to receive the standing ovation. And then the stand around after the film.
Well, that's
I think
it.
people want to talk. They want to now get some of this out. And the film does a lot to sort of like really help us to face it and to sort of purge, so that maybe in that space of relief, we can start to have a real conversation, an honest one about the racist ideas and the nuance of them and how we all participate, but then how we all do need to face it, to shed it.
There were 2 standing ovations, might I add.
Yes.
And after the conversation, they stood up again.
Yes.
And they didn't leave.
Yeah.
They just stood up and just kept going and kept going and kept going because they didn't want to leave.
Yeah, I think they want to have the
the conversation to end.
Tell me if you think this is correct. I think it's because nobody wants to protest 365 days of the year. Nobody wants to stay arguing 365
Anybody
days a
got
year.
time for that?
Nobody wants to fight. We want to smile. We want to live. We want to love. We want to be loved, right? Of course, we're going to, I guess, attach to that and ride that momentum as much as we can in life. But then there's times like this where art, a film, a conversation, or the art that starts the conversation reminds us of where we actually are and some of the things that we've ignored for a bit, or some of the things that we didn't even realize we needed to talk about. And so where I'm at, I guess, right in this moment is I learned from watching this that there's so much to unlearn, and I don't know where to start.
That's one of the reasons why I think Roger decided to begin and end the film with that central question,
Right.
or with that central statement that there's nothing wrong with you. So I think for Black people in particular to watch the film and start with, there's nothing wrong with you. I think it's quite powerful, because then it forces us to then ask the question, well, who taught me there's something wrong with me? And then why? And then even for non-Black people, for them to hear that there's nothing wrong with Black people, similarly, they potentially start to think, okay, someone tricked me, someone hoodwinked me into thinking there was something different and wrong with these people because of their skin color, because of their kinky hair, which has separated me from them my whole life. And now I can really start to reconnect with those people.
What do you think is the root of all this? Is it hate? Is it money? Is it power?
Isn't that how you end the book?
Yeah.
He ends the book talking about, well,
About power.
power.
Yeah.
I think that's another step too. When you say what to learn and unlearn, there are texts, and you can literally go back to the book. You can actually then take this film and this feeling, because when you want that power back, you're going to want to be further educated.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing is that there are beautiful scholars who've been doing the work, whose books are either not on the shelf or buried on the shelf that you can go get. There's other art that has been produced that has been talking about that, because it's not there. You can seek out the power and the education and the learning. Here's the other thing too. I often ask myself, what if we weren't fighting all the time for our humanity? Then what is my contribution to society as Mara, as the individual human in a collective of community? Where is my role in family? Where is my role in work? What did I come here for? Why, as the human being I am, what is my gift? Not my race, not my gender. Like, what is my gift? Even if it's just allowing Black people, if I have my power back, then I can think about myself and not the fight for my existence.
What I would love to do is end on a note where we quickly describe what we have to gain with a level playing field. Because I think a lot of people are just so afraid of what they're used to, and, well, I still got bills to pay. Like, I've literally heard someone say, well, I've got bills to pay. And that's a real thing. So level playing field means less opportunities for me, or does it?
Well, I imagine this question a lot. And right now, we are in a climate crisis. Earth is going to be fine. We will not. If we don't creatively figure out how to do better as humans on this planet.
Yeah.
So we need creative ideas around. And what's interesting, growing up watching Good Times, I remember that I think it was Florida Evans, make $1 out of 15 cents. And maybe, I don't know if that was the complete origin, but I just remember we often say that in our community. We're always making $1 out of 15 cents. Our ingenuity and creativity for survival is needed at a time when we are in a climate crisis. So imagine the imagination and the creativity that could come around problem solving, about a lot of the inventions. You know, during Black History Month, we always find out who invented what. Well, we had to invent it. We were the workhorses. We had to figure out a way.
Make it a little easier.
And a little faster, because one, our survival, our little survival depended upon it. The breaking of our back was happening for us to come up with other ways to clean your house, I guess. And so imagine that level of creativity applied to new industry. We don't know what new industries are there because we haven't freed ourselves enough to give thought to even a particular corporation's approach to selling fashion to their consumer. There's a litany of ideas around how I think a level playing field could look like.
I mean, in an anti-racist society, there not only would not be racism, there wouldn't be sexism, there wouldn't be homophobia, there wouldn't be classism, there wouldn't be ableism. When you look at the history of racism, it's constantly reinforcing these other forms of bigotry. Even when I was doing research for STAMP from the beginning, it was striking how many of the major theorists of very popular anti-Black racist ideas were also major theorists of sexist ideas, right? We're also major theorists about poor people being lazy. We're also major theorists about other forms of bigotry. So you can have people who currently are not being subjected to, let's say, anti-Black racism, but they're subjected to other forms of bigotry. And by them feeding those bigotries, they're feeding their own demise.
Damn. Okay, well, that just became my favorite conversation of this entire festival. Congratulations. I do think that the film will do exactly what you want it to do in terms of starting these conversations and opening people's minds and hearts to think bigger and love more. You know, replacing the fear with love is key to that laundry list of bigotries. It's eye-opening, heart-opening, and mind-opening. So thank you so much.
Like the video? Then hit the button, or better yet, drop us a comment. Then check out our latest videos here. And don't forget to subscribe by hitting the button here for more celebrity interviews and entertainment news.